We shall show them.
Victory
not
is to take you to your
implacable.
guard.
So I'm going to be going over my Wildlander mod list. I added quite a bit of additions, visual, graphical, animation based. Pretty much the gameplay is still relatively the same as the original Wildlander list. But what I'm going to be showcasing here are the simple animations, and these are going to be animation mods that are implemented through Dynamic Animation Replacer, so they're not going to affect combat or gameplay whatsoever, with the exception of first-person animation overhaul. And you can look at that and see if it's something for you or something not for you. So all of these animations pretty self-explanatory. You can just search up the name and then with Nexus mods in Google and you'll find it. I think the only exceptions are the Baka crossbow. This is from Baka Factory, so you're gonna have to go to his Patreon and you can scroll through and find the crossbow animation. This is a walk and run crossbow animation replacer. It's really cool. It makes you hold the crossbow kind of like a rifle, and is a lot better than the janky ass vanilla animation for crossbow, at least in my opinion. I think other than that, the rest of these should be available on Nexus. You'll notice that I have a lot of Vanargand animations. Pardon the coughing. These are really great. Love the male and female idle walk and run, sprint animations, sneaky animations, archery animations. Recommend pretty much everything from him. He also has vanilla overhauled one-handed animations and dual-wield animations, so you could check those out as well, but I don't use them for this list because I actually added Skyrim. Now, also another creator is Smooth. Pretty much any animation mod he makes is fantastic, and I highly recommend these as well. Combat, non-combat animation essentially adds an idle animation or idle walk and run animation for every weapon type when you're in combat and when you're not in combat. So when you're not in combat, you'll notice the animations are usually a lot more relaxed, and then when you're in combat, it's more of a combat ready pose. So it's actually a really amazing add-on that will change up the visuals of your character a lot. Highly recommend that. EVG AV is EVG's animation variants. Also have his conditional idols. These are pretty much a big animation pack that add a variety of different types of idle animations or movement animations for certain types of characters like children, elderly, things like that. And conditional idols add specific conditional idols for when your character's cold, when it's raining, they put a shield up over their head, when they're naked, they try to cover up their body, things like that. Immersive Interactions also is a very large animation replacer that's going to add quite a bit of different animated actions for things like looting NPCs, opening containers, knocking on doors, petting horses, things like that. The rest of these I think are self-explanatory enough that I don't have to go over them, but I'm going to showcase some video to accompany this demo and illustrate what some of these animations look like and why I use them. Alright, so I'm going to be also showing you the Nemesis stuff category. This is essentially all the mods that I added to my Wildlander list to affect gameplay and combat and make it a little bit more fluid, smooth, or cooler, maybe flashier too. So all of these mods, or the majority of these mods, require Nemesis. If you don't know what that is, I'll link a tutorial in the description, but I'll also probably show you at least just how to run Nemesis. It's very easy, and then we can go over these mods. So we have Nemesis. I reinstalled it just to be safe. I would recommend reinstalling it if you're going to actually run it yourself. And then we have on-hit animations framework. This is so that you can have flinching SSE, which is a non-script flinching animation mod. It just adds a sort of hit impact effect so that when you hit an enemy or a creature, They kind of move in a little bit to give you hit feedback, which I really like. Then you have ultimate combat and creature behavior compatibility. That's so that flinching works on creatures. Skyrim platform, Sky SA. So Sky SA, this is the beta version. There is a regular version on the Nexus. The beta version is a little bit smoother, has a little bit cooler stuff and better implementation. But I'm running Sky SA on Wildlander, whereas in my Serenity setup, I'm running ABR. I might go over that later on in the future, but my ABR is very, very, very customized. I cannot explain, quickly in short detail how to get the ABR setup to be exactly the same as mine. Because for a lot of these kinds of mods, there's just tons of custom animations and movesets you can find around the Nexus and around Patreon, where you kind of just like pick and choose what you want and slap it together. So that's what I did. Fortunately here I can show you most of the mods I'm using for Sky SA because it's really simple. ABR is way more complicated since I'm using stances. So we're running Elder Souls the Collection, and this is by Mike Nike. I think you can find it on his Patreon. It should also be on Nexus. Pretty much most of the Elder Souls animations, but mainly, sorry for the coughing, mainly the sword animation is what I really like. This is the dodge mod from Distar, so this is only available on his Patreon. It's a very, very cool dodge mod, and it's probably going to come out to Nexus release pretty soon. It's almost done. Hellblade time block, that's available on the Nexus, I believe. This is also by Distar. This adds a time block feature, which I showcased prominently in my last video, and pretty awesome. Adds a slow-mo effect when you get a time blocked. It's a very precise time block too. It's not like a generous block and attack within 0.2 seconds and then you'll get the effect. You have to really, really time it. And then these are the animation mods I use for Skysa. So I use the Mace 4-hit normal and power attack combo from Skyrim. I use Elder Souls Battle Axe and Warhammer animation from Mike Nike. Then I use the Viking Dual Axe moveset from Badass Animations. I use the Olivier Kenjutsu Sword, Dagger, and dual-wield from Mofu Animations. So I think these should be available on either their Patreon, their Discord, or Nexus mods page for the respective authors. Mofu is going to be Patreon only. The sword and shield animation, I believe this is Anchor's sword and shield animation, so that's also Patreon. The Hallowed Sword moveset, that's available on the Nexus. This is for Greatsword, really awesome. Dual-wield parry implementation. So I believe this list does have dual-wield parry, but I'm not sure if it had a different dual-wield parry than what I'm used to, but this is a key bindable one that you can set to something like middle mouse button so that you can dual-wield parry when you have a sword and a spell in another hand. Very useful. We have TK Dodge Re, which is the unscripted version of it, so I highly recommend you get this so that you can have a very quick responsive dodge key. You can also use the Requiem dodge. That one's totally fine as well. But if you're playing a third-person combat, you want to have TK Dodge Re or DMCO, or you could be like me and use both for a dodge button in combat, in third-person combat. Separate power attacks is so that you can have a designated power attack button to work with Sky SA. The beta currently has it so that you pretty much have to use a third-party application to have a separate power attack button. Otherwise, it's really hard to chain combos. And then we have impactful blocking. This is a mod from Audrey, who I'll also link his Patreon. And this adds custom animations for parrying attacks, kind of like Impa Sekido. The recoil mod makes it so that if an enemy or you time block, it recoils the attacker, staggers them briefly, so that they can't chain attacks. Crouch sliding is, of course, sliding with the crouch button. If you're sprinting forward, it's a pretty cool effect you can use for like thief characters, stuff like that. It actually has the gameplay effect of knocking down enemies and ragdolling them, which is hilarious, but a little bit broken, so you can disable that. And then Poise Stagger Overhaul, this is by Loki. who will also link to Patreon. And this adds a very, very, very smooth, beautiful knockdown animation replacer. I use it pretty much just for the knockdown animation replacer, as you'll see, or as you've seen in the previous video. And that's about it for what I've added to Wildlander. So I'll show you how to run Nemesis to install these mods.
Patience. Be a boon to us.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how to get Nemesis to install the mods that we added in the previous section. So again, you're going to have to install Nemesis. I'll link a video for that. It's pretty easy. And then you're going to want to go into the left-hand pane for Mod Organizer, create a empty mod, and then call it Nemesis output, which is what I did here. And this will essentially be an empty mod. This is your output folder. Then you're going to go to Nemesis Engine, and you can add this executable, add from file, then you go to the mod folder for it, and you select Nemesis Unlimited Behavior Engine.exe, which I did here. Don't worry about arguments. Create file in mod instead of overwrite, and then you select Nemesis output. So once you do that, you can run it. Don't worry about these, it's just because I emptied my output folder. And so now you're going to see, I can't really stretch it, but you're going to see all of the mods that we added. And Nemesis also has a few built-in compatibility folders, things like combat behavior improved and retimed hit frame that we're also going to add. So this mod essentially lets you do a block cancel, so you can bait out power attacks, you can bait out normal attacks, you can block to cancel the animation for them. Very nifty. But NPCs can also do it, so it changes up combat, makes them a little bit smarter for defense. This is DMCO from the star, impactful blocking, flinching, help blade, time block, recoil. Make non-exploitable crossbow reload slow again, so this is already part of the mod list for Wildlander, so make sure to add that. Poise, retimed hit frame. This mod just makes the actual hitting of an enemy responsive to the length of the weapon. If you actually check vanilla Skyrim, your character will hit, or you'll be hit before the weapon actually touches you. So this kind of fixes that. Requiem already does kind of fix that as well with the range changes, but it doesn't hurt to add. And then we have Sky SA, crouch sliding, separate power attacks, true directional movement, TK dodge re, ultimate combat creature compatibility, and then Z slice hit stop fixed is also part of Wildlander, so make sure to click that. And yep, that should be all the mods. So you're gonna hit update engine. We're gonna give that a little bit of weight. Should be pretty fast. Okay, and now it's done updating, so you're going to launch Nemesis Behavior Engine. So if you have smooth non-combat animation, you're going to see this warning. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And here we go. Behavior generation complete. So once you see this, behavior generation complete, then you're good to go. You can close out Nemesis. Now you can check your output folder, and it's going to be filled with these files. So that pretty much means you're good to go. Make sure to go to the right hand side now and check finis.esp. This is to make sure that any mods that use finis.esp as a requirement will be functioning as normal, which is xpmse in this case. You can drag it to the bottom of your load order. Don't really mind my load order. Okay, so these are the mods that I added. They're at the bottom. I made sure to check through xedit. There's no conflicts, or if there are, then I override. But if you're having trouble with load order, learn xedit, and then you can figure that out pretty easily. Mine's a little bit of a mess. I'm not organizing it too well, but I'm just making sure there's no conflict so that things run smoothly. And we should be good to go.